OMG, Zuz, what time is it? It's time for another tutorial. This time, it is Mr. Masters. Good morning, Mr. Masters. If you don't know what that song is, go Google Good Morning, Mr. Masters on YouTube. I fucking love it to this day. It's great. All right, we got a lot to cover, so we're gonna have to move along pretty fast. So let's talk about Ken, who was actually the character I used in the first beta and pretty much every beta that was available since until Cammy became available. So Ken, since the dawn of time, since Street Fighter 1, Ken's always been like the other Ryu. He's always been, he's been slightly different. Different versions have kind of tried to make him a little bit more like the aggressive Shoto, like a little bit more offensive than Ryu, but for the most part he's remained largely the same. Street Fighter 3 was a bit of a departure, Street Fighter 4 was a little bit of a departure again. In this game he is radically different to Ryu. He has a whole suite of moves that are both the same and completely different. I'd say he is probably the most radically different version of Ken that we have to date. So, as I said, there's a lot to get through, but basically, if you want to play Ken as opposed to Ryu, Ken is there for you if you still like to play Shotos, but he is a character who goes for big risks to get big rewards, whereas Ryu is the one who takes very few risks to get very few rewards. So, that's it, let's get that out of the way. So, Ken's health is 1,000 points, which is pretty standard. That's pretty much kind of straight down the middle. It's the same as Ryu. That's average kind of health for the cast, so he can take a hit, and that's really about it. That's really all you need to know. His walk speed is pretty good, both forward and backwards. It's not quite Cammy levels, but it's still pretty damn good, as you can see there. I mean, that's pretty damn fast. That's not slow at all. Backdash, back speed isn't quite as good, but if you're playing Ken, you're not going to be walking back very much. Let's put it that way. You have plenty of moves that will take you forward, not many that will take you back. So, but yeah, that's very good for just walking in, means you don't have to jump too much, you don't have to dash too much. Speaking of which, his dashes they're kind of a mixed bag. They're good and bad. Good in the sense that they come out very fast, as you can see. If we just back off here, you can see his backdash in action there, and his forward dash. So they're very fast in terms of how fast they start up, but they just don't take him very far. Backdash takes him a little bit further, but isn't quite as fast. Forward dash is faster, but doesn't take him as far. If we start with our foot on the red line, backdash takes us about a block and a half. Forward dash takes us about the same distance. So yeah, that's dashes. There's a slight difference between them, but they're kind of muchness there. So that's it for that. So let's talk about normals. So if you see my Cammy tutorial, I don't like to go through all the normals because that's boring, and a lot of them aren't very useful. We really want to focus on the ones that are useful. So yeah, you can play with the other ones in your own time and just see if you can find uses for them in the strategy you want to play out. But these are the ones that you should know about and you should take care of, basically. So like I said, we're not going to focus on the ones we don't need to use much. So lights, they're decent. They're not great. They're just kind of decent lights. Yeah, good for linking to themselves. Good for going into tick throws, that kind of thing. But you really won't be using your lights too much. You can use them in combos, but it's very, very limited usage of the lights, which is the same for most characters in Street Fighter 5. They really wanted to remove the reliance on lights and use mediums. And speaking of which, mediums, let's talk about those. So, stand medium punch, crouch medium punch, both great moves, both really good. As you can see, stand medium punch actually has pretty decent range. Crouch medium punch is going to be a go-to bread and butter kind of move because it is so cancelable and has decent range, starts up pretty fast, has decent damage. All those things, very good. So that's going to be like your universal kind of poking move when you're on the ground. Speaking of which, when you're on the ground, we got the stand medium kick, which it doesn't really get used too much outside of the target combo, but you can see there it does have decent range and you can poke people out of the air with it if you really want to, but I don't recommend it. That said, crouching medium, not too bad. Special cancelable as well, but as you can see, the range is not too hot. So about from here is probably the first way we can go. Anything further will actually hit him. Yeah. So, not a bad poke, but you probably want to use the crouch medium punch a little bit more. So, that's the sort of things that you would keep in mind with the mediums. Heavies, let's see, we got the heavy punch. Heavy punch is actually his crush counter, which I'll show you in a second, but I'll just show you the normal applications of it first. Has decent range again, good damage, cancelable, all those things, very good. Crouching medium punch is his normal anti-air. Ideally you want to be using his shuriken, which we will get to. You'll hear me saying that a lot in these tutorials because there's so much to cover. I thought Cammy was bad. Cam's got even more stuff to cover than she does. But if you find yourself pressured and you don't want to commit to a shuriken, this is going to be your anti-air right here. What else we got? We got standing heavy kick. Pretty good. Starts up a bit slow, but has really good range. He actually walks forward. If you actually see where if we start the red line here with our front foot, actually moves forward when he does it. So it has a deceptively good range on it. It also crush counters, which I will get to in one moment. But first of all, just talk about his sweep. Sweep not that good. We do know for every character in Street Fighter V, sweep is unsafe, and for Ken it is no different. The difference with Ken is that his range isn't even that good. As you can see there, his foot is actually passing through Ryu, so it has an actual less range than you think it does. A little bit closer will hit. But yeah, it's just no bueno. You really don't want to be using this for pretty much anything. If you're within this kind of range here, you know, you want to be using your normal pokes. You don't want to be using that. You want to be moving in closer and doing this kind of stuff. So don't really just don't. Just don't use the sweep pretty much ever unless there's some reason you just really absolutely positively have to knock them down. Okay, so crush counters. Let's talk about those. So let's put Ryu onto doing a shuriken because that's the easiest way for me to get a crush counter and show you how it works. Crush counters, if you don't know, are when you hit someone with a very specific move after basically any move that they're doing. It knocks them out of them and stuns them at the same time. So we go to playback and put recording slot. I want to say 1 on. I want to say 1. I really do. Yeah, that's my shuriken. So he's going to block afterwards, which is even better. So stand heavy punch is it's going to be a go-to crush counter for the most part. It does have slightly less stun on it than his other crush counters, but it's easily the most flexible of all of them. I'll show you why. So that's his normal one. If we do crouch heavy punch, he sends them into space. I must go, my planet needs me. It's crazy. Now, you can combo after that, you can do other moves after that to pile a little bit of damage, but there's not really a whole lot of use for that. Even if you're going into like critical art, which once again we will talk about later, there's not really any reason to not use a stand heavy punch. You really don't have a reason to. So that's that. We can also do stand heavy kick, which will do a different thing again, if I actually time it right. That puts him in the juggle state. So he is, when you see him spinning in the air there, that's just a straight up juggle state, which means he can follow after it. Next thing I want to talk about are the jumping attacks, which are his, really what we really want to focus on is his jumping heavy punch, which as you can see aims down and doesn't cause too much pushback, which is really good. So you pretty much land right in front of him, which is where you want to be with Ken, because you want to be following up with your combos, or your pressure, or whatever you have basically ready for your opponent. Your tech throws, doesn't matter. So that's a really good one for jumping in. If you need a little bit more range when you're jumping in, this jumping heavy kick is still really good. This is what you really want to use. If you're jumping in over fireballs, things like that, to try and punish a fireball, this is probably what you want to use if you don't have the range for your jumping heavy punch. And one more time, there you go, isn't it beautiful? And last thing to really show you is his jump medium kick, which is not only has a good range, but also crosses up and hits from the far side, if you space it right, like so. So that is your go-to cross up. It's pretty much his only cross up, because it will actually combo pretty easily. So those are the three jumping attacks that you just really need to focus on. Okay, next thing to talk about are his specials. Now, Ken is a Shoto. Being a Shoto means that Ken gets access to things like fireballs. Ken has fireballs. You should never use Ken's fireballs. Ever. Don't ever use the fireballs. I'll show you why. Okay, he has fireballs just like, I don't know if I do them right. He has fireballs just like Ryu does. They'll go different speeds. Light version goes very slow. Medium version goes a little bit faster. Heavy version goes a little bit further again. All the same damage. It's just really what speed you want to throw them at. Here's the reason why you don't want to use fireballs or Ken's fireballs. Fireballs in this game are unsafe in general. Right? Fireballs are, if you do them on block, up in someone's face, I'm not going to show it to you, you can just take my word for it and ask anyone or try it yourself. They are unsafe. If they are blocked and you're in front of their face, they can punish you pretty easily. Alright, that goes for Ryu, that goes for pretty much anyone in this game. Obviously there are caveats to these kind of things, but for the most part, it's a good universal rule that fireballs are unsafe. Right? Fine. Ken's fireballs are so unsafe, if he hits them, he's still able to get punished on hit. Ken's fireballs are -3 on hit. And if you don't know what that means, just know that the fastest move in the game, which is your jibbity jabs, have a 3-frame startup. That means if he has 3 frames of being able to be hit, and a jab has 3 frames of startup, that means they can do a jab and potentially combo off of that after the fireball hits. It's terrible. It's worse than terrible. I mean, granted, it's fine to, Jesus, I can't do fireballs today. It's fine to say that you can't, that a fireball should be unsafe on block, but Kens are unsafe on hit. Not only that, but if you watch the actual animation of the fireball, from start to finish, from when he actually starts to push his hands out to when they go back, I can't do them today, I swear to God. It takes about a second. Just count it out. 1/1000. 1 Mississippi. There's about 1 second in which he's completely vulnerable while that move's coming out for someone to jump over him and hit him in the face. It's redonkulous. They are crazy unsafe. To give you an idea of how unsafe these fireballs are, Cammy, even if you try, you go, okay, fine, they're unsafe on hit, they're unsafe on block, I'll do them from back here. They can't punish me from back here, and you'd be wrong again, because Cammy's super, or critical art, can punish a fireball from full screen. So it's just. Alright. I actually retreated to the far side of the screen to bait the fireball. I mean, you can obviously throw them at your own discretion because, your opponent may not be the kind of opponent who's prepared to try and jump in and take the risk of cancelling a fireball, or punching it, if you will. So, it's up to you whether to throw them or not, but just be aware that they are super duper unsafe, and they're just really not worth it. If you do have to throw them from far away. Throw them from really goddamn far away. Don't be throwing them. Don't be doing like crouch medium to fireball, like was so good. Like in Street Fighter 4, this was fucking great because that was safe as balls. On block, that was super safe. In this game, no, don't, please. Anything but that. All right, I've gone enough about the fireballs. Just be aware that they are just no bueno. All right, things that are not no bueno, things that are actually good. Let's talk about Dragon Punches. Let's talk about DPs. Let's talk about your light DP, which I am still retarded. There we go. His medium. And his heavy, which is on fire. Do you need any other reason to use anything but the heavy punch? Well, actually you do. His best universal option for DP, if you want to use his Dragon Punch for a reversal after a knockdown, or if you want to use it as an anti-air, you really want to be using his medium punch version. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to turn on the input commands, just so you can see this. Let's see. Key display on. Alright, normally when you do a Dragon Punch, you press forward and then do a fireball. I don't know why I'm retarded, I'm sorry. And you'll get a Dragon Punch. So forward, fireball, Dragon Punch. That's the general easiest way to do a fireball / Dragon Punch. If we put Ryu on jumping, say normally, so let's say, for example, let's just put you in a situation where if you got knocked down and Ryu started to jump in front of you, just being a dick and just wanted to just jump a lot. Let's go jump. He knocks you down, and he's jumping in front of you. If you do a heavy DP, it can actually miss. It's the same problem that Cammy has with her DP. It can, in certain situations, if they set the apex first jump, clean miss. But if you do the medium punch version, it doesn't go as far. It has less forward motion than the heavy punch version does. It does slightly less damage, but the other advantage of the medium punch version is it actually has slightly more invincibility. And invincibility means that you can't get hit while you're doing it. So if you threw out a kick or something like that, you would just beat it. So it's his best universal option if you're going for an anti-air, if someone is jumping in on you or they're jumping in front of you, you really want to just use the medium punch version. You don't want to go for the heavy because you get that problem now. The only time you really want to go for the heavy is during a combo. You want to use it to either end your combo, you stop jumping now for you, it's fine. I appreciate your enthusiasm. It is during combo or to cancel into your critical art, which we'll get into in another video. We're not doing combos in this video today. This is just the basics of the basics for you guys. There will be a second video going into strategies and combos and things like that. And that's the fun stuff. So that's basically his Dragon Punch. Just be aware that it does not have very much invincibility on it. The most invincibility you're going to get out of it is 6 frames. And I will show you that by switching it to playback recording. And let's go with action playback settings, and we'll turn on slot 2, which is a fireball. If you do a fireball to Ryu, he can actually use his Dragon Punches to try and go through the fireball, because they actually have that much invincibility. None of Ken's Dragon Punches have enough invincibility to go through a fireball. None. Even his heavy punch version, if I can actually do it. There, you saw the fire there? He can't do it. he only gets, even on his heavy punch version, actually only gets 5 frames of invincibility to start up with. And even his EX version, which you would think would have the most of all, only gets 7 frames. So it's still not worth it. So just be aware that this move, in general, is not a great wake-up reversal. It can definitely be used as a wake-up reversal, but it's not a great idea because it just doesn't have that much invincibility. And if you are going to use it as a wake-up reversal, use a medium punch version, because I have had instances where I played against Ken players who have gone for heavy punch DP wake-up reversal, and it's actually just traded with a regular move. Like the first hit of the Dragon Punch connected, but they got knocked out of the second hit and just continued from there, basically. I don't know how to start. Haha! Haha! Snare buttons. Alright, Tatsu. Basically, just go different distances. Each version does different things, different distances, that kind of thing. Really the only time you want to use these is either hit the light punch version, or the light kick version I should say, which is able to combo, or if you're doing it in a combo, you want to use the heavy kick version. Keep in mind the heavy kick version will actually do the same amount of damage as a Dragon Punch, so if you're using it in a combo, you can either choose to use a Dragon Punch or a heavy kick Tatsu to finish it off. Now, the reason you would choose between a heavy kick Tatsu or a heavy punch Dragon Punch is really just how much corner carry you want. If we put Ryu on the center line, and we do a heavy Dragon Punch, okay, it moves him about, what, 1, 2, 3, 3.5 blocks. 3.5 blocks and a big old grid on the ground is the distance he moved. Now if we do a heavy Tatsu, significantly further. We actually have about almost 4.5 blocks. So just depends how far you want to take your opponent to the corner is which move you'll really use. EX versions do different things again, so we'll talk about those now. Let's talk about the Fireball. Fireball starts up faster, so it has faster startup. Basically it does more damage and it does 2 hits. Not a huge difference, but it will do 2 hits. So if you have a Fireball war with your friend over here, let's start, no we don't record, we'll start playback. Yep, on. Alright, so if we have a Fireball war, and we're both throwing Fireballs at each other, and I want something to go through Ryu's Fireball, I'll use the EX version. If I time it properly, good God, goes to the computer. There we go. It actually passes through. Well, the first hit actually cancels out the Fireball, and the second hit goes through, and I can't do shit today. Haha! Worst tutorial ever. Yeah, so it'll actually eat the first hit, and the second hit will still go through. But as you can see, still not a great option. It's not a really great use of meter if you're using it in a Fireball wall like this. It's really the sort of thing you want to do if you just want to get like the final hit, essentially. Alright, let's turn that off. Alright. The Dragon Punch has slightly more invincibility, slightly. I think it's 9 frames, you have to check me on that one. I think it's 9 frames as opposed to 7. Does slightly more damage and a little bit more juggle, things like that. But it looks fucking awesome. Looks great. He's on fire the entire time. So you can use that as a wake-up reversal, obviously, but if you use it as a wake-up reversal and it's blocked, not only did you just waste a bar of your critical meter, but you have given them all the fucking time in the world to sit down and write an essay on all the ways they're going to punish you for it. Because it is that fucking long an animation. So you really don't want to use that outside of a combo. And the Tatsu is basically, it will give you like huge amounts of corner carry. If we start back here and do an EX Tatsu, look how much corner carry we got out of that. We almost took him the entire way to the corner. Like he had like one teeny tiny little block to go. So that is a massive amount of corner carry if you want to get them in the corner and try and keep them there. So that's really what you want to be using it for. Primarily. Obviously get damage differences and things like that. Jumping version, because it becomes a dive kick. Yeah, pretty neat. Pretty swag. Pretty swag. So it goes straight down. It'll ignore projectiles in the state. So if we get Ryu doing his fireballs again. Action playback setting. On. Yep. We can just jump straight in on him. I'll try to do it through the fireball. I actually knocked him out of it before it actually got there. Yeah, so we can do it just pretty much with impunity. It will go through fireballs. It's pretty much the only move that he has that will go through fireballs. with the exception of the critical art. So there is that to consider, and also you can do some shenanigans, which I'll talk about in the next video. He's got some similar shenanigans to Cammy that he can do with that, but it's not worth going into right now. So that's pretty much all those things that we need to cover there. Let's talk about his unique attacks. So every character has certain unique attacks that will come out differently depending on the direction you press the button. So for example, our medium kick just comes out like that normally, but if we press back medium kick, it comes out like that. Now, the only real use for this is that it is an overhead, as you can see. The other move that he has, which is an overhead, is his forward heavy kick, which is called the Thunder Kick, which is a pretty fucking cool name for a move, gotta say. It's basically the same thing. Essentially the same thing. The only difference really is that the mini kick version, if I do it right, there we go. Back medium, not forward medium. Back medium, he stands on the red line, as you can see. Forward heavy kick, however, takes him significantly further forward. It has a little bit longer startup than the back medium kick. It's only like about 3 frames difference, but it's just something to be keep in mind. And he can also do a feint. So if you tap it, instead of holding it, he'll just do that. Does no damage. Does no damage, just brings him forward a little bit and just... That's kind of an advanced technique there. You really only want to use that. If you've managed to hit them a few times with the overheads and you've made them afraid, it's back kick, not forward. Back, forward. And you made them afraid that you're going to keep hitting them over the head and over their guard, and you want to try and make them block, you can just do this and then go for a throw or something. So that's kind of the reason that you want to use that. It's really some mind games kind of move. It's not the sort of thing you want to use as a beginner, but it's something to keep in mind for later on. Also the fact that if you try and do the Thunder Kick and it's not coming out because you keep getting this, it's because you're not holding the button down. You have to hold down heavy kick to make it come out, otherwise you just get the feint. Alright, let's talk about target combos. So normally I would talk about these in a combo video, but these are target combos which are basically just very simple inputs that you can press to get a very short combo. So they're very easy to pull off. Ken has 2 target combos, which is really good of him. His first one is basically going to be back medium punch, back heavy punch, which is Chin Buster. There are specials and all kinds of shenanigans you can pull off of that, but I won't cover them in this video. Thing to remember about this is that it's 2 parts. It's the back medium punch, then the back heavy punch. The back medium punch is safe on block. This part is safe on block, but if you follow through with that, it is not safe on block. You don't want to be doing that. So it's kind of a high risk move to just throw out. You don't want to just throw it out. It also has very short range. Like as you can see, it's very hard to hit Ryu unless you're right up in his face. There we go. Something that is designed to be just thrown out is this second target combo, which is the Lion Breaker, which is basically medium kick, heavy kick. Pretty freaking simple. Medium kick, heavy kick. That's it. You do get a juggle after that, which is the reason that you do it. It's safe on block, which is fantastic. A little bit slow to start up, obviously, but not too bad. And you can combo afterwards. Like so. It's a kind of a narrow window for the combo, but you can do it. So that's that. So yeah, if you want to throw out like a target combo just to see if it'll hit, you can throw that out. Obviously, you're gonna have problems if they're crouching. Nope, wrong way. Crouch. So yeah, kind of a problem if he's crouching. Gonna be point blank range. So again, something to be aware of. All right, let's talk about Ken's V skill. Thank you, Ryu. You may stand. So Ken has 2 versions of his V skill. One is the run and one is the run with a kick. So the run, you just tap medium punch, medium kick, and you get this run. So that by itself, not really that intimidating. You can even keep tapping around, they'll just keep running. He's running on. So yeah, that's kind of the thing with that. What makes that useful is that he can cancel it off his normal moves. So you can use it to really just make people afraid that you're just going to stay in their face and never leave. Again, that's kind of an advanced technique that comes back to more mind games and knowing when to do things that are, you know, when to take those risks as opposed to when to not take those risks. Because, I mean, Ken can't block while he's running forward. As you can see, it takes him a while to block after that. So he is completely and totally vulnerable to everything while he is running. it's really, like I said, you really have to pick and choose your times when you want to use this because it's just so incredibly unsafe. You can also cancel out of it as well. So you can cancel into it, cancel out of it. So, but there is still, it doesn't matter like how fast you tap the button. Like I can tap like jab again, but he will still do a certain number of steps before he comes out of it. He won't just instantly cancel out of it. So you do have that short period of time when you aren't vulnerable. So you really have to use it during a time when you know your opponent is afraid to do anything but block. And believe me, it's not hard to get people in that situation when you're playing as Ken. That's the first thing to remember. The second thing to remember is that if you hold the button down, it will come out with a kick. The kick is actually shorter. If we look at the run distance from here, if we, we'll just push Ryu back a bit further. If we just do the tap run, we ran about 3 full blocks. Right, but if we hold down kick, only 1.5 before he actually threw out the kick. So it has a shorter distance, but he throws out this kick guaranteed. That's the only move he'll do at the end of it if you hold the buttons down. Thing to remember about that is, while it's a good pressure move and while it does have good distance, yeah, we can attack basically from back here, it is unsafe on block. So they do have a very, it's not even that narrow window, it's -6 on block, so they have 6 frames to punish you for that. So that's just something to remember as well. Let's bring back here. Again, it's really, I can only reiterate, it's really something that you use when you know that people are going to block and you want to cover distance and you want to keep the offensive pressure up. That's really the main use for it. All right, let's talk about the V trigger itself. Now, if you thought that Ken's run was unsafe, his V trigger is crazy unsafe because he dashes forward. Holy shit! He says, "I hit my bullet point." Actually, I think it's I hit my boiling point. Someone pointed that out to me. His feet also turn on fire, which is neat. Very handy. It's very cosmetic. What this actually does is that it's not a huge difference. Basically, it will basically make his moves slightly faster, do slightly more damage, have different properties depending on the move. Like Ken's normal fireballs will just hit the opponent. Even the X fireball will just hit the opponent. If we do it during his V trigger state, it causes knockdown. Things like that. There are just very minor differences. His Dragon Punch gets more juggle, travels further, does a little bit more damage than normal. Things like that. His Light Dragon Punch becomes very difficult to punish because it has very few recovery frames once he's doing it. There's a lot of differences that I'm not going to cover. Basically, the thing you need to remember that while it's active is that you're going to have more, you're going to be doing more damage, but not by a huge amount, and your move's going to come out a little bit faster. So those are the main things to remember. Those are the main takeaways when you do it. Now, this move, as I said, is crazy unsafe because he dashes forward when he does it. So that dash is not invulnerable to anything. He can just be punched straight out of it. He can be kicked, he can be fireballed, he can be critical outed. Everything about that move is unsafe. The only time that you really want to use it is if you do it off a cancel. The best move to cancel it off of is his stand roundhouse. The reason for that is that it is completely, if you hit with the standing roundhouse, doesn't matter whether it's on hit or whether it's on block, it is completely safe. It's a very safe move if you do it off of stand roundhouse, and that's what I recommend you do it from, because stand roundhouse has the best range out of all Ken's normals. So that's really the move. If you just want to get your V trigger activated, and you don't really care how it's done, whether it's on hit or on block, just throw this out and cancel into it. That's your best bet. You can do it off other moves. There's plenty of other moves you can do it off: Dragon Punches, Fireballs, all those kind of things. But again, that's more for combos. This is just more if you're trying to get it out there. And of course, you can follow up as well, but that will be for the combo video. That's just all we're going to cover off with it there, because this video's been going on long enough, and we are almost done because we have the final thing to cover, which is the critical art, which is double roll forward kick. Pretty damn flashy, pretty damn swag. You have to smell the feet, smell the hot burning feet. Should probably see a podiatrist about that. Podiatrist would come highly recommended after all that. So, thing to remember about that is that it's something that you can use in combos. I'm not going to go really too much into it here. Only thing about it is that it only has 1 to 5 frames of invincibility. Oh, well, I should say frames 1 to 5 are invincible, not 1 to 5 frames. But that is enough to get you through a fireball. So, play recording. Yep. So if we do this, one more time. He travels forward just enough, and it has just enough invincibility to get you through a fireball. Won't do it from a distance, obviously. If you try and do it from like back here, if you can actually do the freaking move in time, there we go. Yeah, bad idea. It doesn't travel nearly far enough to do it from full screen like Cammy can. But it does work if you time it just right, as you saw before. So that's just really the best use that you can have for it. Oh, outside of combos. You can stop that, Ryu. Outside of combos, if you got them in the corner and you try and make them nervous and they decide to throw out a fireball, you can use that to punish it at the right range, but just be aware it is a very short range with a very small window. Outside of that, you should never throw it out in anything outside of a combo. Or if they're stunned. That's the other time. So, yeah, that's it, guys. That's going to cover it for part 1 of this Ken Masters tutorial. He's a fun character. Like I said, big risks, big rewards, big flashy stuff. If you do enjoy, please remember, like, subscribe. There's going to be all those links coming up in just a second. There will be a second part of this video. If there's anything that I haven't covered, or if there's anything you would like to see in that video, please leave a comment below, and I will see you very soon in part 2.